I read from Les Brown. He said, where there is no path, create a path and leave a trail. You know, and that's what I decided to do. And so on that warehouse journey, I started noticing that the stuff I was reading was working. I learned how to, you know, one principle that I decided to live by, y'all, was I said, I know that I couldn't approach this ordinarily. I can't do what normal folk do. I had to be extraordinary, everything that I did, because I had this baggage. I couldn't explain these 5 years. And I had 5 years parole, and I was on a bracelet. So I started to, you know, work those things in those warehouses and use the things I was reading. And eventually I started volunteering. You know, I started going out. My dad, who was kind of nurturing me and developing me, he started getting into the nonprofit world because he was retired from the military. So he started getting into the nonprofit world when I was incarcerated. So by the time I came home and started doing some things, he had already started developing some stuff. So I began to volunteer when I was working in the warehouse. Somebody discovered me while I was volunteering and said, I want you on my team. That's where it started for me in the nonprofit, where I was working for Mill Hill Child and Family Development Corporation to develop this thing called Teen Peers, and it's still operating to this day. But in doing that, recruiting, I came across IOS. And next thing I know, IOS came to me and said, we want you on the team. And I had to leave that organization. Broke the guy's heart. But so, you know, but I said, you know, sometime when purpose calls you, you got to move. And once I learned this, you know, purpose is not something you always decide, neither something you discover along the path. And so that's where it started for me. I started working at IOS, running the Youth Build program for many years, you know, inspiring people.